2026 elections exposed. Can opposition stop the rigging? Ambassador Mwamba reveals all. Zambia is heading toward one of its most critical elections in decades. But there's growing concern about vote manipulation and election rigging. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, a seasoned diplomat, weighs in on how the opposition can defend democracy and why failure to act could cost the country dearly. Will Zambia's voters have their voices heard in 2026, or is the battle already lost before the first vote is cast? Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of the InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. It's been quite a week here in southern Africa. The political temperature has been rising, and today we're diving into something that could reshape the entire democratic landscape of Zambia. But first, let me ask you something. What happens when the very institutions meant to safeguard your vote become the tools of its theft? What do you do when the referee decides to join one of the teams? When the guardian of democracy becomes its greatest threat, picture this: a nation stands on the precipice. Elections are just months away, August 2026. But beneath the surface, beneath the official statements and the glossy promises, something darker is unfolding. Allegations of systematic manipulation. Claims of a democracy being dismantled, piece by piece, law by law, appointment by appointment. One man has decided he will not stay silent. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, former diplomat, now the voice crying out in what he calls a democratic wilderness. He's taken the unprecedented step of writing not to local authorities, but to the regional bloc itself, SADC. His message? Democracy in Zambia is under siege, but here's where it gets even more chilling. What if an entire electoral commission has been compromised? What if the constitution itself is being rewritten, not to empower the people, but to entrench power? What if opposition parties are being systematically destroyed from within, using the very machinery of the state? Is this democracy dying, or has it already been murdered? Can SADC save Zambia's election? Or are we watching the birth of another regional authoritarian playbook? And most importantly, can the opposition stop what Ambassador Mwamba calls the greatest electoral heist in Zambian history? Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you isn't just about Zambia. It's a blueprint. And it could be coming to a country near you. Factual foundation, background and timeline. The revelation came to light on Monday, November 18, 2025, when Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, serving as chairperson for information and publicity of the Patriotic Front, Zambia's largest opposition party, dispatched a formal complaint to the Southern African Development Community Secretariat in Gaborone, Botswana. The letter was addressed to His Excellency Elias M. Magosi, the SADC Executive Secretary, with copies sent to SADC Chairperson President Cyril Ramaphosa and the Chairperson of the SADC Organ on Politics, Defense and Security, His Excellency Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika. The context is crucial here. Zambia is scheduled to hold presidential, parliamentary, mayoral, council chairpersons, and local government elections in August 2026. President Hakainde Hichilema, who won office in 2021 under the United Party for National Development banner, defeating Edgar Lungu of the Patriotic Front, now stands for re-election, but according to Ambassador Mwamba's explosive complaint, the path to those elections has been anything but democratic. The timeline of concerns began much earlier, shortly after President Hichilema took office in 2021. Ambassador Mwamba alleges a systematic campaign began targeting the opposition, particularly the Patriotic Front. This included what he describes as harassment, arrests, and imprisonment of political opponents and critics. Then came the constitutional amendments. In March 2025, both President Hichilema and the Minister of Justice announced plans to amend the constitution. The timing raised immediate red flags just over a year before the general elections. In May 2025, the government introduced the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill No. 7 of 2025, popularly known as Bill 7. The bill proposed sweeping changes, increasing parliamentary constituencies from 156 to 211 seats, introducing a mixed-member proportional representation system, and making numerous other electoral reforms, but the process sparked fierce opposition. Civil society organizations, opposition parties, and professional legal bodies raised serious concerns about both the substance of the bill and the process used to develop it. On June 27, 2025, the Constitutional Court delivered a bombshell ruling: Bill 7 was unconstitutional. The court ruled that it failed to comply with Article 79 of the Constitution, which requires wide public consultation before constitutional amendments. The court emphasized that constitutional reforms must be people-driven, not initiated solely by the executive or legislature. The Law Association of Zambia welcomed the ruling, calling for future constitutional reforms to be preceded by tangible, visible, and inclusive consultations led by an independent, non-partisan body. But the government didn't abandon Bill 7. Instead, on October 2, 2025, President Hichilema appointed a 25-member technical committee on constitutional amendments to undertake what was termed a consultative review process. Fast forward to December 15, 2025. Despite continued opposition protests and boycotts, the National Assembly adopted the revised Bill 7 at its third reading. The vote was overwhelming. 135 members of parliament voted in favor, with none voting against or abstaining. Several Patriotic Front MPs walked out in protest before the vote. 3 days later, on December 18, President Hichilema signed Bill 7 into law at a ceremony at the Mulungushi International Conference Center, declaring it a defining moment for Zambia's democracy and national unity. But for Ambassador Mwamba and the opposition, this wasn't democracy, it was its death certificate, and that's when he decided to take his case beyond Zambia's borders, appealing to the regional conscience of SADC. On November 24, 2025, SADC responded. In a letter signed by Ms. Annalena Enthes, Senior Secretary Directorate of the Organ on Politics, Defense and Security Affairs, the SADC Secretariat confirmed it would dispatch the SADC Electoral Advisory Council to Zambia to investigate the allegations. The letter stated, "The concerns that you have raised fall within the mandate of the SADC Electoral Advisory Council, which, incidentally, is preparing to travel to the Republic of Zambia to carry out a post-election review mission." SADC was coming to Zambia. The regional spotlight was now trained on President Hichilema's government. Direct evidence, quotes and testimony. Let me read to you directly from Ambassador Mwamba's complaint to SADC. These are his exact words, and they paint a disturbing picture. In his opening, Ambassador Mwamba wrote, "I'm a senior member of the opposition Patriotic Front Party here in Zambia. I'm a member of the Central Committee and hold the position of Chairperson for Information and Publicity. We wish to bring to attention serious development occurring in Zambia that requires immediate attention by the leaders of the SADC member states." He continued, Zambia is scheduled to hold presidential, parliamentary, mayoral, council chairpersons and local government elections in August 2026. However, the holding of credible, democratic, free, and fair elections is under serious threats unless the government of President Hakainde Hichilema is persuaded to abandon the course it currently is on. Now, here's where his testimony becomes particularly pointed. Ambassador Mwamba catalogued specific allegations against President Hichilema's government. He stated that the president was engaged in the process of stealing the largest political party in Zambia using state institutions and the judiciary. He accused the government of passing draconian laws that took away freedom of expression of citizens and actively undermining the independence and autonomy of the Electoral Commission of Zambia. In a separate statement issued more recently, Ambassador Mwamba focused specifically on the Electoral Commission. He stated, "The current Electoral Commission of Zambia board and management have increasingly demonstrated that they are not qualified and fit to run the 2026 general election in an impartial manner and cannot guarantee that the election will be independent, credible, democratic, free and fair." He singled out specific officials by name, stating, "It is clear that the presence of Mwangala Zalumis, McDonald Chipenzi, Brown Kasaro, and Dr. Collins Kachaka has demonstrated that the 2026 general election is as good as stolen in favor of the UPND owing to their presence and partisan work." That phrase, "as good as stolen," became a rallying cry for opposition supporters. Ambassador Mwamba also addressed what he saw as electoral manipulation through appointments. He said, "The repeated pleas by stakeholders that the president must protect and honor the Constitution by allowing an independent electoral commission have fallen on deaf ears as he is the perpetrator of these dirty schemes to undermine the independence of the commission." In his comprehensive analysis titled Vote Protection Strategy, Can the Opposition Prevent the Rigging of the 2026 Elections? Ambassador Mwamba laid out his most serious charge. President Hakainde Hichilema, who is also a constitutional delinquent and a candidate for impeachment and future arrest, has initiated serious plots and mechanisms to undermine the 2026 general elections to ensure that he has safe and easier passage into his second term. He elaborated. He started by systematically attacking the opposition, and engaged in stealing, killing, and destroying the Patriotic Front, the largest political party in Zambia, and by harassing, charging, arresting and imprisoning his political opponents and critics. He has appointed cadres at ECZ, passed oppressive laws, passed a new constitution with focus on the upcoming elections. But the government fired back. Mark Simue, UPND media director, issued a scathing response, dismissing what he called fugitive Emmanuel Mwamba's false and baseless claims to SADC. Simue stated, Mwamba's allegations that President Hakainde Hichilema's government threatens democracy, the rule of law, and the 2026 general elections are baseless, dishonest, and a desperate attempt to mislead regional and international partners for political sympathy. He added, "It is ironic that Mwamba, who faces criminal charges in Zambia, now seeks to disguise his personal legal challenges as political persecution. He was neither under arrest nor under restriction when he fled the country. His decision to abscond from the judicial process reflects a disregard for both domestic and international law." The government's position on the Electoral Commission was equally firm. Simue stated, "The ECZ is an independent constitutional body, and any suggestion that President Hichilema has interfered with its operations is false. On the contrary, this government has strengthened institutional independence to ensure free, fair, and credible elections in 2026. On the constitutional amendments, President Hichilema himself addressed the nation after signing Bill 7 into law. He stated, Bill 7 has been one of the most topical and consequential issues of our time, one that has tested the strength of our democracy and the unity of our nation. Throughout this process, we all engaged in lobbying and robust debate, we agreed and, at times, disagreed. As is the nature of any democratic process, such engagement must ultimately lead to a resolution." He continued, "The greatest winners in this process are the people of Zambia and our democracy itself. The people have spoken through their duly elected representatives, and as a nation committed to democratic principles, we must respect both the outcome and the collective resolve it represents." Justice Minister Princess Kassoun echoed this sentiment, describing Bill 7 as a covenant with the Zambian people aimed at inclusion, fairness, representation, and strengthening democracy. The government emphasized that Bill 7 introduces 40 reserved seats for women, youth, and persons with disabilities through proportional representation, groups historically underrepresented in parliament. But constitutional law expert Professor Ches Lumina offered a starkly different view. In a submission to Parliament, he stated, "The Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill No. 7 of 2025, commonly referred to as Bill 7, is legally void and has no standing in law following a ruling of the Constitutional Court." Professor Lumina warned, Parliament's continued consideration of the bill risks undermining constitutional supremacy, judicial authority, and democratic governance. He went further, the effect of that judgment is that Bill 7 was stripped of legal existence from the outset. Parliamentary processes cannot create a legal foundation where the Constitution has withdrawn one. The Law Association of Zambia, in its appearance before the Parliamentary Select Committee, also raised serious concerns. According to reports, the treatment of LAZ representatives was described as hostile and confrontational, raising what observers called serious constitutional and democratic concerns. On the SADC investigation, the response from the SADC Secretariat was diplomatic but clear. Ms. Annalena Enthes wrote, "The SADC Secretariat takes note of the concerns that you raised in the letter mentioned above, and of your readiness to travel to Gaborone, Republic of Botswana, to further make representations on the matter." She confirmed, "The concerns that you have raised fall within the mandate of the SADC Electoral Advisory Council, which, incidentally, is preparing to travel to the Republic of Zambia to carry out a post-election review mission in terms of Article 7.3 of the revised SADC Principles and Guidelines Governing Democratic Elections 2021. The letter concluded with a commitment. Once consultations with the government of Zambia are concluded, Ambassador Mwamba's office will receive notification of the dates and venue for SEEK's engagement with electoral stakeholders. SADC had spoken. They were coming to investigate. So there you have it, viewers. The battle lines are drawn for Zambia's 2026 elections. On one side, a government that insists it's expanding democracy and strengthening inclusion. On the other, an opposition that claims democracy itself is under assault and the election is being rigged before the first vote is even cast. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba has thrown down the gauntlet, taking his fight to SADC and the international community. President Hakainde Hichilema has signed Bill 7 into law and declared victory for the people. The Electoral Commission stands at the center of a credibility crisis. And SADC investigators are preparing to descend on Lusaka to sort through the competing claims. The question that hangs over all of this is simple but profound. Can an opposition stop electoral manipulation when the very institutions meant to ensure fairness have allegedly been captured by the state? Or to put it another way, is democracy in Zambia being defended, or merely buried with full ceremonial honors? These are the questions we'll be tracking as we move closer to August 2026. This isn't just a Zambian story. It's a story about the fragility of democratic institutions across Africa. It's about what happens when trust breaks down between governments and governed. And it's about whether regional mechanisms like SADC have the will and the teeth to actually defend democracy when it's threatened. Thank you so much for watching today's edition. I want to hear from you, especially our viewers across Southern Africa. What do you make of these allegations? Do you believe Ambassador Mwamba's claims? Or do you think this is opposition theatrics? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're not already subscribed to InspirAfrica Official, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We'll be following this story closely in the coming months, bringing you updates, analysis, and on-the-ground reporting as Zambia heads toward its critical 2026 elections. This is Nakash, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another deep dive into the stories shaping our continent. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop questioning. Take care, everyone.